Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some geography. Now, this time onto Benin, or I think that's the Benin. I don't know how to pronounce it right. I'm sure it's not Ben. I don't know. He'll let me know the proper pronunciation. I've heard it both ways. So I'm not quite sure. I don't know if that's just people thinking they know. I don't know. Anyways. Before we dive into the video, make sure you check out the links below in my description box and in my pinned comment in the comment section. Got a link to my gaming channel here on YouTube, and I have a link to my Twitch channel down there too. I would love it if you threw me a follow over at Twitch and hung out in the chat when I go live. Now, let's go into the geography of Benin.
Have you been in Benin?
Okay, it is Benin.
Well, you have an invitation to begin in Benin. When in doubt, just use puns for the intro. Score!
Puns.
It's time to learn geography
now.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbato. Today we head to
Paul.
West Africa for the first time. But before we do,
Just yeah. My first time to West Africa.
you know the drill. Let's dissect the flag. The flag of
I like that flag. I like it.
Benin is pretty simple.
Simple.
It just has three colors, green, yellow, and red. The yellow and green represent the savannas and the palm groves located in the south of the country, and the red represents the, say it with me, the bloodshed for those who fought for the country. In another respect, the flag also utilizes the Pan-Africanist movement colors to signify the unity and strength of the people after colonization and pride in their identity. That was so much easier from Belize's flag from last time. All right, moving on.
Belize's flag was
Benin
pretty
may be a
complicated.
very narrow and thin country, but don't be fooled, it has a long and crazy history behind its location. First of all, Benin is located in West Africa, below the Sahara line, bordered by four other countries: Togo, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Nigeria, with the Gulf of Guinea to the south. People will tell you that the shape of Benin kind of looks like a key. I personally think it looks like a mushroom cloud explosion right before the top of the mushroom cloud expands and gets crazy.
Paul, what the fuck? It's a key.
The capital is Porto Novo, which means new port in Portuguese, despite the fact
Very
that French
creative.
is the official language.
Nous parlons français? Tu parles de temps? I don't know what that
And
means.
is located in the south. However, the seat of government and most governmental buildings are located just a few kilometers southwest in the largest city, Cotonou, located on the coast. The country is divided up into 12 departments, which are further divided into 77 communities. Originally, the country had 6, but then in 1999, the original 6 split up, and then Arakira, Plateau, Littoral, Djougou, Dogbatota, and Colines were added, each with their own capital city. Although the coastline is only about 75 miles long, or 120 kilometers, the majority of people live in the south within 100 kilometers of the coast. However, the north has some decently
Makes sense. You know, humans like to live near the coast, live near seas or rivers and whatnot.
sized towns that hold their ground, especially in the Donga and Arakora districts along the border by Togo, such as Natitingo and Djogo. In the far north is a disputed patch of land that they have with Burkina Faso near the Beninese town of Porga, which has the world's most boring airport ever. A large portion of the borders go along rivers: the Penjari River for Burkina Faso, the Okpara for Nigeria, and further north along the Niger River. Benin smiles at Niger and says, "Haha, my side has lush green savannas and your side is just dry desert." Most of Benin's land borders aren't really tightly marked or enforced, giving people easy access from Nigeria and Togo. I mean, half the city and town of Ilara and Tuandi are split between Benin with Nigeria and Togo, and nobody really seems to care. As we'll soon find out though, Benin kind of has a slight rivalry with its little brother Togo to the west, and you can kind of see that in the south, where Benin is like, I'll just take these extra 10 miles of coastline from you, because rather than take the main tributary to the sea, I'm gonna follow this small little creek that juts inland. Oh, and I'll call the area Grand Popo, because that's what I am, Togo. I'm the Grand Popo, and don't you forget it. Sorry, Benin, but when you look at the map, it does kind of look like you pulled a geographical jerk move. But hey,
Does look like a geographical jerk move.
you're not the only one. Namibia. Well, Benin may be small with some interesting perimeters, but what really counts is the secret special things in those perimeters, things that we'll discuss in. All right, we connected the dots, and now let's color in this slab of sovereignty, shall we? Benin's land
Well, I like that. Slab of sovereignty. Ooh. I really... Oh, I need to keep that in my head. I fucking like that. Why? I don't know. It just sounds cool.
landscape is
Slab of sovereignty. Damn. That's a good Damn.
generally flat for the most part. The country gradually slopes a little bit upwards the further north you go until you reach the Atakora mountain range along the northwest border with Togo. With the highest point, Mont Sokbaro, at only about 650 meters or 2,200 feet above sea level, being in this area. However, generally there are four main geographical areas that divide up this country. The low-lying sandy coast with marshes and lagoons connected to the ocean, the plateaus with valleys and rivers where the majority of ecoregions and nature preserves are found in, and then you got the flatlands with the dry savannas and rocky hills further north, and finally the Atakora mountain region in the northwest. Here's the thing, Benin kind of has two-ish separate climates, the south and the north. The south is generally hot and humid year-round and gathers most of the rainfall. However, in the north, the closer you get to the Sahel— oh wait, I have to explain what the Sahel is. The Sahel is basically this area of northern Africa, which is kind of like the transition region between the Sahara and the semi-arid savannas that are trying to like hang on for dear life and not become a desert. It's like a desert savanna battlefield. Join me, Savannah. Become one with the desert. No, I want to drink some water and like grow plants. Y'all deserts, out of my face. Out of my face. So anyway, Benin is located right here, right below the Sahel line. This means that as the Sahel and Sahara are battling it out, the north part of Benin gets some of the backlash in the form of a dry wind called the harmattan. This wind dries up the grass and vegetation annually and leaves a veil of dust that hangs over everything. This is also the season where farmers burn the brush to help nourish the soil for next year's harvest. Speaking of which, Benin is, as many African nations are, an agriculture-driven economy in which food items and cotton make up the majority of the GDP. However, they do have one secret weapon: gold. Locked away in the veins of the Atakora Mountains, close to the towns of Kwatena and Chantangu, is Benin's largest gold mines, which in recent years has contributed to as high as around 20% of overall exports, mostly from foreign investors like China and the European countries. See, that would have been a great transition for the friend zone, but we have to follow the format again. Here's demographics.
I mean, you don't have to follow the format. If it's a smooth transition, I say go for the smooth transitions. Style points.
People of Benin. Now this is where things get interesting, and then confusing, and then weird, and then a little scary, and then back to interesting. First of all, the country has about 10 million people, or about the same size as Sweden. Now, here's where things get a little complicated. In terms of tribal ethnic groups, Benin has 42. The largest ones, the Fon, the Aja, the Yoruba, the Bariba, the Fula, the Otomari, the Kabye, and the Dendi. Speaking of which, Ajas and Fons, in addition to Ewes and Ga-Adangbe tribes found along the coast of West Africa, make up the majority of tribes that were taken to the Americas from this region during the transatlantic slave trade. Many of them headed to North America and the Caribbean, as opposed to the Africans from the southern regions of Africa, like Angola and Cape Verde, that went to the South American regions like Brazil and Venezuela. Also, although debatable, it's been said that voodoo originated from the Aja and Mina tribes, whom brought the belief to the Americas most heavily in Haiti. To this day, about 17% of the country still practices one variation or another of voodoo. However, the rate is even higher in neighboring Togo, with many in Nigeria as well, making the area unofficially known as the Voodoo Coast. Traditional African religions, in addition to voodoo, make up about half of the population, whereas Christians, mostly in the south, make up about 30%, and Muslims, mostly in the north, make up about 20%.
Indigenous religion. Oh, that's very neat.
However, it's kind of confusing because many Beninese people will overlap traditional beliefs with Christianity and Islam. Nominally, about 42% identify as Christian. However, doctrinally, it's more like a 12% fusion Christianity compromise buffer zone.
I mean, this is... it depends on how you want to, obviously classify a belief in Christianity. Because you can't... I would say that 12% definitely would be part of the Christianity side. Just... depends. It really depends, though. That's really interesting that they still hold that much of a percentage for their indigenous religions, despite the hundreds of years of colonialism.
And the same goes for those who claim to be Muslims. Although small and less than 1%, the majority of the white population in Benin are mostly Christian missionaries who provide aid and long-term assistance such as economical and medical help, as well as a few French nationals and their families left over from the former years before Benin gained their independence from France. Now, we don't talk too much about history here, but in order to understand the people of Benin, you kind of have to understand where they came from. Eventually, the Fon people set up the Kingdom of Dahomey in the 17th century, and they were a very military militaristic people group, sometimes referred to as Black Sparta, in which they even instituted a female soldier corps called the Ahosi. Eventually, the Portuguese came in, and the kingdom did business by selling war captives as slaves to the Portuguese. After the slave trade died down in the late 1800s, France swept in and nabbed the area, recalling it French Dahomey. Finally, in 1960, France let go and gave them their independence. So, as you can see, Benin kind of has both a Portuguese and French influenced past. Now, this is where things get a little strange. Remember in the Albania video, we talked about the Sino-Soviet split? Albania actually decided to side with China and not Russia, which may have been a bad decision. The reason being because that made China Albania's only ally in the world. Oh man, the quality was so bad back then. I tried being my own cameraman and I didn't even have any audio equipment. Anyway, during the 70s, Benin for a short period of time was actually under a Marxist-Leninist-based republic, and kind of like Angola, remember? Benin was the only country in West Africa to do this, and it kind of shocked the world. It all had to do with this guy, Mathieu Kérékou. If you want to know anything
I've
about
heard of that
Benin,
name.
you kind of have to know this one guy. Long story short, he ran the country with an iron fist. He kind of ruined everything: businesses, education, banking. Then he tried to finance the country by taking nuclear waste from Russia and France. Bad idea. And then finally, after riots broke out from his own regime for not having enough money to pay them, renounced Marxism. And finally, in 1990, a new constitution was complete and the modern-day Republic of Benin was born. Kind of. I mean, the first real free and fair election kind of happened in 2006, but still, they're working on it. How did all that happen in a span of like 11 years? Other people were involved. People we'll talk about in
Friendship Zone!
Benin has a quirky, unexpected history in friendship. First of all, like mentioned before, they have historical ties to both Portugal and France. However, ties with France are much stronger as the country didn't engage in slave trading and the language became official. Nonetheless, most Beninese people take a meh approach to the French, not really enamored by their presence, but at the same time not dwelling on the drama of being occupied in the past either. After independence, Benin took a strange move and decided to side with the Soviets. After independence, the USSR jumped in and coaxed Benin by being one of the first to recognize their sovereignty. They built up relations fast and sent ambassadors, and finally, that's when Mathieu Kérékou started a military coup and took over, driven by Soviet influence.
Mathieu Kérékou's coup.
Marxist ideologies to rule the nation. Various cooperation treaties were signed, the Russian Navy had a port in West Africa they could use, and even after the dropping of Marxism in Benin and the fall of the Soviet Union, the newly established Russian Federation still maintained good relations and ties with Benin. Togo is kind of seen as like the weird little brother that Benin kind of rolls their eyes at. Culturally and historically, they've been close through thick and thin. They both speak French and were part of the French Empire, although Togo was under Germany for a while. And they both share some of the same tribes, like the Aja and the Mina tribes. Nonetheless, Benin considers themselves very different as a whole and claims Togolese people are way too superstitious, especially in the large population of voodoo adherents, with the strange rituals and even building things like a temple devoted to snakes. When it comes to their best friend, how
Snakes? Fuck that. No. Snakes.
however, more or less, Benin would probably say Nigeria. In fact, Benin depends on Nigeria for the majority of its export sector and trade. Parts of Benin were historically part of the Nigerian Yoruba tribe Oyo Empire, and to this day, tons of Yorubas live in Benin. In conclusion, as small as the country is, Benin's story is gigantically laden with empires, kingdoms, colonies, and gold. Keep writing that story, Benin. Stay tuned, Bhutan is coming up next.
Nice video. This is Geography Now, Benin. What to say? Yeah, I think they covered. You did a good job covering Benin. That consistent thing that I keep talking about in every single one of these Geography Now videos is which videos I feel could be revisited and strengthened by, lengthening the amount of information or whatever by putting more information in. I think for Benin here, I don't think there really is much more that could be talked about. Obviously, from a historical standpoint, perhaps more discussion on Kérékou would be kind of cool because, modern African history, I feel like, actually is less talked about. There's a big focus on colonial African history, and then there's also been a shifting towards trying to the pre-colonial African history. However, then modern African history kind of has been pushed under a little bit. But of course, you could argue that most modern countries' modern history is kind of swept under the rug to look more towards that colonial history. Um, but yeah, I would have liked to hear a bit more on Karaku. But aside from that, I think he covered everything that needed to be covered for Benin. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.